What's going on YouTube? We're back with another video, you know what I'm saying? And today in this video, we're going to be reviewing my new computer. So this was the air cooler that I brought. It was a Thermalright X120R. This came before the computer came, and I covered the first picture with, you know, a picture I have because I don't know if there's anything crazy. And right here was a camera that I brought, and this came, you know, after it because my old camera broke. And right here, this was actually the PC box. It's a X5M Mesh by Montech, and this computer was actually bigger than my first computer, like really big and longer in length. And I actually told the seller to kind of remove the GPU because it was an older GPU, but look at the size comparison to my old one and my new computer. This thing is sick. But back to what I was saying, this is my first AMD, and yeah, I was gonna install my own GPU, and this was my old desktop. You know, I was taking the GPU out to put it into the new computer and stuff like that. So like I said, this was my first AMD computer. I was actually installing the GPU here, the 1060. I'll put in a new, this is temporary, so I would put in a new GPU sooner or later. So yeah. And another thing is, in these couple of pics, I was actually heating up the CPU, so I could actually uninstall the cooler for it, the AMD RAV cooler, so I can install the Thermalright X120R. And yeah, I was just kind of heating up the CPU and thermal paste, so I could just do that. So I played a couple games, and then the CPU thermal paste started to heat up, and basically I took the cooler off, the AMD RAV cooler. Then I started setting up the Thermalright parts to the motherboard. Then I had the fan, and I was going to attach it to the heatsink, and then, you know, add it to there. And then I had to do wire management, you know, push the back plate back, and started, like, you know, just doing a whole bunch of stuff. But here, behold, the Thermalright cooler, it worked. Successfully, it worked. As you can see, all the lights is on, the temperature is running, and then yeah. Now guys, that was the final results, you know what I'm saying. Now if you was wondering why I have my stuff downstairs, because, you know, I worked on the stuff downstairs, and then it delivered that same time, so I just decided to work on it right away. And as you can see in the pictures right here, I was able to finally run games with AVX instructions, and, you know, I finally was able to take my PC upstairs. And I played a little bit of Sonic Unleashed on Xania. I was able to run it down, and I even did my first video and stream on this computer. And, you know, it came out right. Make sure you check out the video on my gaming channel. As you can see, it looks like that with the thumbnail. And after that, I had a nice snack and just probably ended off there. Now I did a nice test on Minecraft. These are the results: 60 FPS, you know, nice FPS with shaders. Now guys, that was the end, and here's like a little tribute for my old computer at the rest for the rest of this video. You know, when I got this computer, it was more than half a decade ago, probably half a decade ago. And yeah, it was basically just like a random computer that I just wanted, like basically my first desktop. And I didn't really care about specs. I was more appealed by the RBG by the, I mean, yeah, RBG besides the specs. So I wasn't really truly a computer person at first until I started finding out. Then that's when I realized I had to get a new computer. And this computer was just like a computer with a RAID Max case and a Dell motherboard and just a couple RGB fans I just installed by myself. The PC actually came with like 3 fans in the front. It never had all these RGB fans around it. I was pretty much just learning everything. And these RGB fans, I pretty much just added them in. I added that GTX graphic card that you see in there, that 1060. Before that 1060, that computer came with like a 7060, 7050, something like that. And that truly shows that I was just trying to upgrade the computer as much as I can. And it only had like 100 gigabytes of like HDD or whatever, and 1 terabyte of SSD and stuff like that. And it had a stock cooler and everything. And it had like a 2009 CPU, and it was pretty bad. But yeah, like I said before, I didn't think about that at first. And it was basically like a 2010 motherboard, like a Dell Precision T1500. And yeah, and I pretty much just like experimented on this older desktop, but it ran really well and on some games and at some occasion. You know what I mean? I added all these. You probably wonder how I added all these RGB lights. Well, I had me a Vitro controller and just plugged them all in. That 1060 didn't have LED lights into it. I actually put custom LED lights into it and just kind of plugged it into that controller right there. As you can see, the controller on the side, like the remote for the controller on the side. And that was basically just everything. I'm sorry for the dogs barking in the background. That's outside because I live in a neighborhood where it's just like dogs, and it's just annoying. I just hate the dogs in the background. But I'm sorry for that. But yeah, the computer was pretty much amazing. I had it for years, and it worked good with a set of courses. You can see in that picture. It worked good with like making beats online and stuff like that. It worked good with like Minecraft shaders. Well, kind of. With like Minecraft shaders. And overall it just worked good with it was pretty much enough for me. Worked good with Train Simulator Classic and Train Sim World games, even though it kind of crashed sometimes. It was enough to handle like my photography and like vlogging and stuff like that, even though it failed at those times because the CPU was old, and then it's DDR3 RAM, and then it just wasn't enough. It wasn't up to like today's standards. So it kind of held on as much as I can. I mean, as much as it can. It also, held on to like me making games on Roblox. Because as you can see, my 3D model subway car right here. So a couple of days later, this is how the desktop is looking. You know what I'm saying? Everything's normal. Everything's fine. See the fans in there. It's a pretty like huge desktop, like desktop tower. Same old thing. But yeah, and my RTX graphic card is going to be coming about, I'd say Tuesday, and I will be replacing this GTX 1060 with the RTX. This was temporary, so I was just putting that in there until I get the RTX. And right here, everything's looking all right. The thermal all right. CPU cooler, air cooler, everything's fine. You know what I'm saying? I still got the little wrap on there because I don't want to take it off until I get the new GPU. So that's it. And yeah, like look at the size comparison. Oh yeah, I forgot to say I got a new camera right here too. You guys probably noticed that in the videos on my other channels. So I got a new camera, and I'll really keep plugged into my USB. Yo, like this space is like huge, dog. Like my other like desktop, it didn't even have this like huge space. Like I could fit so many like fans on here. So yeah, like just look at this. Look at my hand compared to like that whole space. Like that's like a lot of space. But yeah, what I really keep plugged in on here is really just a USB cable for like charging my stuff, like my headphones or like a phone. And I can use the USB-C, but I need to plug something in order to use that. And that would be like a second USB-C, because my new GPU will have a USB-C at the end. And another thing I keep right here is just my earphone cord, you know what I'm saying? And that's pretty much turn this on. So I currently have it off by like the switch, because when I turn it off, it doesn't turn like all my LED lights and like monitors, like stuff off, like my camera and stuff, like all this stuff, like a microphone. And yeah, it doesn't really like turn it all off because there's still power going through. And let's actually just flip the switch, which is back here, and here we go. So as you can see, everything started turning on. Like the light, see, is gaining power before I even turned the whole thing on. The lights turned on, the microphone turned on, and the keyboard might turn on, I don't know. But yeah, all these lights turned on. And if you want to know what happened to my mouse, my old mouse in 2024 kind of raged, and I kind of basically just tore the mouse apart. And yeah, I just kind of broke it, so I had to like kind of sit with this temporary mouse. And yeah, and another thing is, as you can see, like right here, this is just kind of loading, like the digital screen for the air cooler. And the reason why it's loading is because, like I said, it's not on. So when all this stuff start running, it will show the temperature number of the CPU, and I can change it from the CPU and GPU, and I will be showing you guys. But here, let's turn this on. And yeah, this is it. You got to give it a second to actually, you know, turn on everything and input the numbers. So I'm gonna turn my monitors on. I love this PC a lot. I can finally run Xania, bro. I couldn't run Xania on my old computer because the CPU, it was like a 2009 CPU, but this CPU is way more newer. And yeah, so I got Windows 11. Finally got Windows 11. And what was I going to show you guys? Oh yeah, I was going to show you guys the temperature. Like I could change the like stuff. This is going to turn on in a second, so let's just wait. There we go. 43, as you can see right here. I was going to get the larger one that shows the GPU and CPU at the same time and some other numbers at the bottom, but I'm not really sure if I have enough space for that. Something in my head is telling me I do, but at the same time I don't. But yeah, and let's just open up the software, and here's just the whole like the stats for everything. And let's say we want to change it to red. Let's change it to red. It changes to red, and this is on monochrome brief. And let's change it to orange, yellow, green, blue, light blue, regular blue, purple, and white. So as you can see, we have white in the whole case, and so like all the fans are just white. And right here, we're just going to set it to normal monochrome, and I guess it just sits like that. And we have color cycle, which is like rainbow. Yep, rainbow. And you have another rainbow, which I don't know why it's just like two different rainbows, but maybe color cycle is just like one color after another, then rainbow is just like a blend of like colors and switch over to another set of colors. And right here you have temperature, according to temperature. And this is great. Now I'm not really sure how this mode works, but I guess when the CPU gets hotter, maybe it turns red, I don't know. This is blue according to load. So the load is obviously like low because it's 36, right? 35, 34, actually going down. And it's blue, so it's pretty much cold down there or in there. And yeah, and let's just check out the CPU percentage. The use is 3%, 4%. Okay. GPU. Okay, let's lower the on the GPU. I'm surprised it's that low. GPU percentage 1%, because obviously we're not really using any games. It's gonna turn high. But yeah, I wonder if I could, okay, so we could check some other stuff over here too. This is just like more stats, fan speed. Pretty cool. I low-key want the double tower, but like I said, I'm not really sure. Let's open that back again. And let's change this to white, just pure white, because you know that's my whole color. I low-key want to change the RAM color too, like the RAM too, and just change it to like RBG RAM, but I don't think it's that important, you know. It's not that serious, you know. But yeah, you can see the GTX stuff down there. Another thing is, maybe in the future I might change the graphic card, the RTX graphic card after this one, to 3060, and I might even change this cooler to the bigger tower, like a double tower, or I might get an all-in-one, and then that way I could just like place the fans up there and actually make this spot up here useful. And you know, and I'm gonna upgrade to like 32 gigabytes of RAM and probably more storage, which I have a great amount of storage already, but you know, I just want to change up some things. But for now, I'm just going to keep it the way it is, and Tuesday I'm going to actually make a video of me installing the new RTX graphic card into there. So yeah, and make sure you guys like and subscribe, check out my other channels in my bio, and peace.